It's something that I'm knowledgeable about,
Mm,
even though it's not formalized, right? I don't have education, I don't have official education. But
mm,
on the other hand, do I really need this? Do I really need education if I know what I'm doing? And that's also where SkilledIn actually is trying to help people with this. We all have skills, and what is important is to care, right? And
yeah.
then we can upskill what is missing. We don't need to go and do another master in sustainability. By the time we graduate, we pretty much, already
Yeah,
not
but
really relevant.
welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirk Jan Upkes, and on this podcast, I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases, and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech, and thank you for tuning in to episode 95. Yes, still 5 episodes to go to the magic 100 episode. My guest today is Natasha Syed. She's the founder of SkilledIn Green, a platform that solves the talent gap and the skills gap in the green economy. She started in finance, but Natasha made the leap into sustainability driven by a passion for impact, a clear gap in the market, and a little push from her husband. In this episode of Women Disrupting Tech, Natasha reveals how sustainability is not just another niche, it's the future of work. She shares why hiring for green jobs requires a new mindset, how education in this space is still too fragmented, and why upskilling, not another degree, is often the key to landing a new role in sustainability. We also talk about the challenges of bootstrapping as a solo founder, the evolving role of HR in driving sustainable hiring, and what it really takes to build a global platform with impact. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a job seeker looking to transition into sustainability, or someone passionate about the future of work, I'm convinced that Natasha's story will give you the insights and the motivation you need to take action. So, when you're ready to listen and learn how to build a skilled in green talent pipeline, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Natasha Syed. Natasha Syed, welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. Good to have you. Question I always ask at the start is how you got into your current job or current position.
Hello, dear Ken. Thank you so much for having me, and this is my pleasure. In terms of how I started or how I actually got to where I am, it's not a very straightforward and, in a way, intuitive way.
Hmm.
So I started at corporations soon after graduating, and my first startup was actually a bit earlier than I would do it myself, but there was someone who kind of encouraged me to start something of my own. I always had this entrepreneurial bag, but
Hmm.
I always thought it's not yet time. Right,
Hmm.
it's still something, to achieve some more things in your career, or to save more money. So there was always something preventing me,
Hmm.
and due to circumstances aligning and this like a small push from my, well, currently husband, I started my first startup. And yeah, well, once entrepreneur, forever entrepreneur. And After my first startup, there was another one. There were a few side projects, and
Hmm.
it feels like never-ending story. Even though it is hard, it is, I would also say, addictive. And once you're there, you find it very difficult to go back to corporate world,
Yeah.
because you get used to, I wouldn't say flexibility, but expression, right?
Yeah.
You can do more things, you can
Yeah.
try more things, you are more agile rather than following very strict processes, which again,
Hmm.
they are needed, but sometimes we actually need to be a bit more flexible, and to accelerate some things we may
Hmm.
need to avoid some rigidity of policies.
Hmm. Yeah, avoid the bureaucracy, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I read that you wanted to be an astronaut when you were young.
Yes, yes, still want to.
Okay,
um,
so when there are tickets available to go to Mars, are you signing up?
depends on the price.
Yeah, of course, but let's assume that you could afford it.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's I think it's something amazing to see the planet, place where you live from such a perspective,
Hmm.
realizing how small you are, right?
Yeah,
And what we should do to protect this unique place where we live.
yeah. Because tell me a bit more about that outside perspective.
Mm.
What is it? What would it bring us?
Um, well, to be honest, I can only guess, right? I
Hmm.
still haven't been up there.
No, me neither. But
Well, maybe one day,
uh,
and hopefully, it will be possible, and not for the reasons because we have to leave the earth,
hmm.
but actually for exploratory reasons.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think whenever we speak about sustainability, we always or very often see this picture of a planet. And actually, if we look also at some of the visualization, especially where we can map temperature. Or even if we map water levels before and after, right?
Hmm.
So it actually does give a perspective. And now I understand this is more visualization than rather like going to space and realizing all of this.
Yeah,
However, it's like something such so massive as our planet and seeing it from a distance and realizing if this one is so small, how small am I? But on the
yeah,
other hand, also how many things we can do, and it's really, I believe, should give like a lot of motivation and push to anyone to really take care to realize that there is no time to wait in terms of sustainability, in terms of climate change, and everyone can actually make a difference.
yeah. So you used to work in finance, which is, let's say, a less sustainable part of the workforce than where you're now. I think it was, what was it also your husband, your now husband, who pushed you towards the sustainability part of the market?
No, not really. So this one actually, sustainability started a bit more of my personal interest.
Hmm.
And I think first time I really stumbled upon it around 15 years ago.
Hmm.
And this is when Coursera was just launching their first courses. And me being, lifelong learner, I always want to learn something new. I was looking through the courses, and sustainability really caught my attention. And to be honest, that was very introductory course, but somehow this notion of being able to preserve the resources for future generations, the meaning of sustainability, right, really caught with me. And I was even like recently telling the story that um, later I had an interview at
Hmm.
International Paper, which is paper producing company. And when the hiring manager asked me, so what are your interests? And I proudly said sustainability, right? And
Huh?
after just like this short course. And that's actually, it was really eye opener to me because he asked, oh, that's great. We really care about sustainability. So what can you say about sustainability in packaging? And well, you can guess that I couldn't say much. It
No.
was just like introduction to the topic, and I understood. Oh my god! So sustainability is actually really, it applies to any industry and any process, any vertical. It's a massive concept.
Hmm.
Um, but still, at that time, to be honest, it wasn't that easy to get a job in sustainability specifically, right? And especially in terms of education, also, it's not something that, small courses on Coursera, but there is no like specialization to give you a specific job, right?
Yeah.
And so with this, sustainability was with like part of my interest for the longest time. uh,
Hmm.
Finance was my another, well, at that point of time, really love.
Uh-huh.
Now it's like love and hate, to be honest.
Okay.
Still there.
Hmm.
But it's only recently, I think 2 or 3 years ago, where I really made it And again, going back to the question of startup versus corporation, you can
Mm-hmm.
incorporate new thing, right? And
Yeah.
as we started as like more skill gap diagnostics, and we were looking into specific focus, sustainability was a really no-brainer choice for us. It's something that I'm knowledgeable about,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's not formalized, right? I don't have education, I don't have official education. But on the other hand, do I really need this? Do I really need education if I know what I'm doing? And that's also where SkilledIn actually is trying to help people with this. We all have skills, and what is important is to care, right? And
Yeah.
then we can upskill what is missing. We don't need to go and do another master in sustainability. By the time we graduate, we pretty much, already
Yeah,
not
but
really relevant.
I was about to say, because that's pretty much how people look at knowledge, that you have to have a master's degree or a bachelor degree in a certain topic to be knowledgeable about that. So how do you then, let's say, flag the things that are missing, and how do you then upskill that on
Mm. Yeah.
skilled?
To be honest, I think it's a bit an outdated concept that we really need to have a paper proving that we can think in a
Mm-hmm.
professional context. Uh, well, in reality, yes, sometimes it is require structured approach to get really a lot of knowledge, but it's maybe more of engineering roles, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even we look at a lot of tech roles, even within my team, a lot of guys are self-taught and they are amazing at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
um, and so to your question, how do we map actually what is missing?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take an example of finance, right?
Yeah.
I'm a finance professional, and well, during my certification, I did touch upon integrated reporting, but that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, if somebody wants to work in sustainable finance and they have zero financial knowledge, of
Mm-hmm.
course, it makes sense if it's your first degree and you really want to have a degree to take degree in sustainable finance.
Yeah.
But we will look at how many professionals are needed in sustainable finance, and we look at how many finance professionals do we have.
Mm-hmm.
Why not leverage this workforce? And for them, is just upskilling in specific areas, which is depending on the role, whether it's reporting, ESG, or specific standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also depending on geography. So it really is unnecessary. It's a waste of time and, well, very often money to go
Yeah.
and do another degree if we have these transferable skills.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, we have around 500 job roles that are. We take it from the database of Skills Future, which is
Mm-hmm.
a government agency, and there is an extensive research that they do on annual basis to
Mm-hmm.
categorize the skills, abilities, and description of selected job roles.
Yeah.
And I understand it's not enough. It's not enough job roles because it's a lot. We map just like 500, but it's just Singapore, and of course, a lot of them could be applicable in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the times, this is done by signals from job market, right? So when we see in specific job roles, like new skill becomes requirement on
Mm-hmm.
regular basis, that's actually the potential for the upskilling, right? And if the skill is a green skill, which very often, and we will see it more and more often
Mm-hmm.
as well, that's where you would come to SkilledIn to actually get the skill and just upskill in what is needed instead of, okay, I want this role, I really like this new job role. Oh, but it's like 2 years. I need to wait until I finish my next master's, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, that's indeed a bit of a waste of time if there's a role now and you can only fill that when you've done a master's, which then takes you well, another period to get done.
yeah.
So wanted to zoom out a bit more to Skilled in Green, because you founded that uh, 2 years ago, I think. What problem did you start solving? So take me through the journey so far, because now it's a lot bigger than it was at the start. But how
Mhm.
did you get started?
Yeah. Um, so actually, before SkilledIn Green, there was SkilledIn, and
Mm-hmm.
SkilledIn, we developed a software for skill gap identification.
Mm-hmm.
However, as very broad, applied to any industry, of course,
Yeah.
it could be quite difficult to be effective.
Uh-huh.
And yep, you're right. 2 to 3 years ago, we decided to focus on sustainability
Uh-huh.
and incorporate more granular approach, more precision.
Why did you pivot?
There were a few reasons. One of them is the software that we originally developed is
Mm-hmm.
actually enterprise level.
Okay.
Uh, it's quite massive. And well, sometimes we have to learn on our own
Yeah.
mistakes. Startups, which
Uh-huh.
like count up, should not start with enterprise software, right?
Uh-huh.
And to be honest, for SkilledIn Green specifically, first it was as an offshoot. We wanted to develop a product that would be B2B2C. But
Mm-hmm.
after we saw how much interest it generates and how much people actually say that it is needed, we decided to focus full time on a skilled and green only. And so
Okay.
that's also the other reason is the timing. Timing really aligned in sustainability is not a new concept.
No.
However, the prominence of the gap in skills and in talent, and I think there's also a bit more urgency currently, as well as awareness from people's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So it all came together. It was almost, like meant to be, so to
Mm-hmm.
say. And yeah, that's how we got into Skilled and Green.
Okay. So you pivot towards sustainability. Did you, because currently I think it's a matching platform for people who are looking for a job, people who are looking for skills, people who are teaching skills, people who may have jobs or a need for employees, let's say. Where did you start on that journey? How did you identify what problem to solve first?
Mm. So first we started with talent gap.
Mm-hmm.
Talent gap, it's when people companies need to hire people.
Yeah.
Actually, we talk specifically about hiring, right, not upskilling. They want to
Mm-hmm.
hire professionals in specific sustainability space,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the platform where they would find it. It's very specialized, like you have specialized tech recruitment, right?
Yeah.
And sustainability is also growing in demand, and justifies having this specialized platform. It's not niche.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's niche, as some people say, oh, it's a niche. Well, it is not. It's actually across industries.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. But on the other hand, the second thing that we realize that is the power of transferable skills,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's where upskilling comes in. So from talent gap is to the skill gap. So we
Mm-hmm.
do have talent. It's not we don't have. And
Mm-hmm.
people really want to work in sustainability. Just like give them opportunity and show them what to learn.
Yeah.
So that's the second part, right? What specifically to learn? There is a lot of offers, but it's all spread across, ESG for everyone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you want to do with this ESG? Do you want to know how to apply it in real estate or in finance or in supply chain, right? It
Mm-hmm.
will be different content. So
Yeah.
that's where we put it based on the roles, again, with help of the skills future database, which specific green skills and even on what level are required.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course, how do we make this knowledge available to people?
Yeah.
From the beginning, we decided that we don't want to get this expertise internally because we
Mm-hmm.
want to cover as many roles as possible, which means that it's simply not sustainable
Yeah.
from our perspective to have expert for each single skill. That's where training providers came in, right? So
Mm-hmm.
our partners, we work together with on very specific curricula to develop this content that matches different levels of skilling based on the job role.
Mm-hmm.
So that how it progressed, but it's a bit of catch 22.
Yeah.
We need more of everyone,
Uh-huh.
everywhere for the platform to actually work. So it's a balancing act, and we are still figuring out the best way. But that's pretty much the start. The start of the platform is these three persona groups, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Talent, recruiters, and training providers.
Okay. And then match those three to start building and then basically identify whichever gets the first traction and then build on that.
Um, because we don't really do matching itself, it's more of a platform
Hmm?
similar to LinkedIn, where you can browse through content and
No, sorry,
content.
that's what I meant by yeah. It's not actively matching, but it's
Yeah.
passively matching. So I get we all get if you're looking for a job on LinkedIn, you get
Mm,
these job recommendations.
yes,
I
yes.
I call that sort of matching, although it's not often
Yeah.
still not that uh, good in quality yet. I suppose it will become
Mhm.
better.
Yep, yep.
I just wanted to touch on a topic that popped into my mind when preparing this morning. Does sustainability in HR have a branding issue? That it's like it's either too broad or too niche.
Well, there is a lot of problems in HR when
Mm.
it comes to sustainability.
Mm.
And I also think HR can be this driving force and change agent.
Yeah,
So I think one of the problems is HR themselves need to upskill, right? To understand, traditional recruitment is not working anymore. We cannot look at years of experience in specific role when the role just came to existence last year,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
they
that's something
Mm,
that also that struck me really that nowadays everyone wants to hire data scientists, which is sort of well, let's say a new, relatively new field, and then they expect people to have like 10 years of experience.
absolutely, yeah,
That's
yeah.
so. They say, do you see the same thing happening in sustainability then?
Yes, I think any new role or any new, I don't know how to put it, like a collection of skills,
Hmm.
uh, we always go through these phases, and unfortunately, we don't learn, right? We
No.
don't learn, right? It's saddening to see that. I recently saw headhunting company looking for somebody for a CSO role with 25 years of experience. And while I understand it is possible, right?
Yeah.
There were some chief sustainability officers 25 years ago, but how many roles do we need to fill? How many chief sustainability officers do have 25 years? This is just unreasonable. And this is one of the reasons why we have the talent gap, or I would say it's a perceived talent gap, right?
Yeah.
Because if we focus on wrong things, and on the other hand, also what I think this is another HR problem, which is quite general, is
Hmm.
when somebody is working in the same field, when it's like specialist for so long, it
Hmm.
actually kills creativity, right? If you come from different field, you learn to connect the dots, right?
Yeah.
And you do the knowledge transfer from other industries, best practices. And
Hmm.
I don't understand why this one is not valued really still by HR. Perhaps there are some like HR professionals who do value this and who can spot great talent and
Hmm.
see this creativity, innovation, something that we really need nowadays in any job role. But
Hmm.
more and more often, it's like the old, playbook: higher, the more experience, the better, right?
Yeah.
It's not always the case. Sometimes it can do more harm than good, to be honest, right? If you don't move fast enough with the new trends,
Hmm.
because it's just natural. The longer we learn to do something, we kind of automate it for ourselves. We develop our shortcuts,
Yeah.
thinking, biases, even, right? And
Hmm.
we just follow it. It's how our brain works.
Yeah, it's
So
just reprogramming, or
mm,
rather, using the existing programming to execute on a job
yep, yep, exactly.
instead of looking at okay, what is really needed.
Mm, yeah. That's
So
the question, or that's how the things are done here, that
yeah,
you very often can hear in the books of how not to do business.
yeah, that's funny though, huh? That people are apparently so risk averse that they know that they need to change. They know they want to change because I would expect people to want to keep up with the Joneses, so to say, and still they don't. What role do you think Skilled in Green can play there to really facilitate that people actually make that change and start looking for talent, for curiosity, for yeah, let's say being being a good fit in the team.
Mm. I think that's still a lot of education that needs to be done. And by education now, I don't mean green skills, but more of a mindset
Mm-hmm.
and perspective change. And this is also what we are trying to do. Even we want to work with universities, and we do have some partners with universities, partnerships with universities, where we can actually come in as this like missing part on sustainability, and
Mm-hmm.
even give a free workshop about what is green cv, what are the opportunities, right? It doesn't mean that we compete with universities in this sense, but it means that we allow people to prepare better for job market.
Mm-hmm.
What is also needed from our side, and more of it, is education on the employer side.
Yeah.
And here, the mindset change could be much more tougher than if we talk about fresh graduates, because
Yeah.
they are still much more open to new ideas, right? And they are still learning about what is that workplace, how things are done. But if it's already existing processes, and that's what we just spoke about, right? It's really
Mm-hmm.
difficult to change.
Yeah.
And the education has to be prolonged and consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So here, actually, one of the things we are talking about is an initiative called Green HR,
Mm-hmm.
and that would actually be focusing firstly on Singapore and Southeast Asia to
Mm-hmm.
promote and share best practices in terms of sustainability recruitment,
Yeah.
and also have like workshops, master classes, knowledge sharing sessions
Mm-hmm.
to help people shift a bit the perspective. If you really need green talent and you cannot get green talent, but you know that there is green talent,
Yeah.
what is the issue, right?
Yeah.
And how do I overcome it?
Yeah.
Mm.
So I want to go back a bit in the interview because you're serving many sides of the same market right now. Um, I was wondering, in terms of traction, also what the feedback has been from the parties that you work with.
We've been getting quite a good feedback, and despite having bugs here and there, which
Yeah,
happens in any
yeah, but
startup.
that's normal,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, we've been lucky that people are actually quite forgiving for this. Really great feedback in terms of usability, that it's very intuitive, and they those, there are people, we can divide them into groups: those who love us and those who don't understand what we do.
Uh huh.
So obviously our users come in the first group, and then we can further
Hmm.
categorize them. So the biggest challenge, and this is also something that we already covered a bit, is actually the critical mass, right?
Yeah.
So we need critical mass on all the fronts, and this sometimes can be a bit of a challenge for partners from different areas to
Hmm.
actually come in, right? So educators want more learners, learners want more content,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then recruiters want more talent, and
Yeah.
talent wants more jobs.
Yeah.
So that's where we are like, really, it's every day we think, what is the focus today? Okay,
Hmm.
so today let's focus on building talent. So how do we how do we build talent? How do we provide them with more features, perhaps like some free features that is that would be interesting for them and
Hmm.
still useful.
Hmm.
And as we build the talent side, then we invite training providers, and we say, "Oh, we identified like this is the trend, like this skill is in most demand, right? Do
Yeah.
you have this knowledge, could you share?" And then eventually, again, employers are on and off. but the critical mass that we need should come at once, right? So that's actually where we are working on job fairs, and which we want to organize this year in two countries,
Hmm.
specifically Indonesia and Emirates, and Singapore and the Netherlands next
Hmm.
year. This are like online job fairs,
Yeah.
but they are country specific. So that would allow us to get this critical mass and geographical focus at the same time.
Okay. Why Emirates?
Well, GCC is also our market overall, and
Hmm.
Emirates is like our launch pad into the region. So sustainability there is needed. The potential is realized. The talent is ready, but still needs some skills. If we talk about local talent,
Hmm.
and to be honest, there is not many players who cover this, right? And we are needed there, so we go. We go
Ah.
and we explore more what are the nuances of the specific market, and we are looking also to partner with local partners to provide knowledge which is very very relevant for the region.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So maybe then it's good to describe the platform a bit as it is now. So can you please take us through what Skilled in Green is like now? So what are the target markets? We talked about talent, we talked about education, we talked about recruitment. I think I saw something on the website that there's an investor part coming
Yep.
soon.
Yes. Yep. So the goal for us is actually to be the go-to place
Hmm.
for professional sustainability.
Yeah.
And the reason why we cannot or we should not focus on talent alone, and
Hmm.
where you saw investors and founders, which is something we are working on currently,
Hmm.
because the world is saved by entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
and there is a lot of bright ideas and people who just need this visibility, right, and who need to be concentrated in one place.
Yeah.
So from the investment perspective, of course there is plenty of platforms that list startups, their financial background sometimes, or even more in-depth analysis,
Hmm.
but they list all the startups. And now if we focus on sustainability or impact even more broadly,
Hmm.
and you see it becomes in many venture capital like companies, it becomes actually mandate to have this impact investment as percentage of the portfolio.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be easy to actually have a platform where you focus only on the startups? So it's already like massive job in identifying the pipeline and sifting through all the startups with all the like requirements, stage traction, all of this.
Hmm.
It becomes one requirement less that you are looking at, because you know already this is the place that focuses on impact.
Hmm.
That's actually where founders and investors come in. And yeah, then we also have consultants, which also the next thing that is
Yeah.
coming. In our again, this depends on the market, on geography, I would say. So some markets which are earlier, so Europe is very developed, we know
Hmm.
this, right? But some markets, especially Southeast Asia, here when people or when companies start on their sustainability journey, they don't feel really they don't always feel confident to hire somebody full time, and they
Hmm.
prefer to have a consultant at least to come in and help them set up this initial department or
Yeah.
scope of work,
Yeah.
right? So consulting is also needed. It cannot be dismissed just by hiring people, especially when companies are starting and it's difficult for them to identify the scope and even like what is out there, what should we be doing, right? It's outside
Yeah.
of their usual expertise.
But that happens, that is actually applicable, I think, also to startups in Europe and in the US for that matter. There's still a
Mhm.
lot of let's say the consultancy market is a bit more developed. So the whole concept of a fractional chief marketing officer or chief
Mm.
sustainability officer is I think pretty well known. But
Mhm.
still startups do need those people to who can help them really, yeah, in Dutch it's called kwartier maken. So it's a bit like really building up the foundation of, let's say, an HR organization or of a sales
Mhm.
or a marketing organization.
There's like different many different levels that is not always that apparent from
Hmm.
the first look, but when we deconstruct the success of starting something new
Hmm. Yeah.
without having internal expertise, there
Hmm.
are like different outlets that companies may need to restore to actually get it right and get it faster, and of course save money when
Yeah.
when needed.
So you're building this for initially the more less, let's say, the developing markets like Southeast Asia and also GCC. Does that is that also reflected in your team, by the way?
In what way?
Well, you have a pretty diverse team.
Yes.
So do they also come from the same markets or?
No. So this is a bit separate. Where we have currently our team is primarily technical.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all the engineers that work on the solution day to day, and we do have one person that is market specific, but she currently works across geographies, right? So here is the thing: Skilled and Green overall is a global platform,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't want to have which is also a valid approach and could be relevant for some startups but not in our case, where you
Mm-hmm.
have, like, for example, skilled and green Singapore or skilled and green Netherlands, right? And then you focus on serving local market.
Yeah.
But why we don't want to do this is actually because there is a lot of synergies between the markets,
Mm-hmm.
and the knowledge comes in waves. So, for example, what is currently in Europe could be applicable in Singapore in, let's say, 2 years.
Yeah.
So here is actually where also peer-to-peer learning comes into play. So people who are professionals
Yeah.
currently starting up with something new in Europe
Mm-hmm.
could be experts, could be mentors for people who want to start this in 2 years' time in Singapore, right? The same role.
Yeah.
So that's why, being a global platform, we need to have this global community. And the messaging also should be, I know it's difficult to have messaging that is applicable everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
but we try to make it in a way as close as possible to universal language, so to say.
Yeah. It's because I read somewhere that sustainability is still quite a fragmented market, let's say. Is it also a way to unify that market?
Yes, yes, this is also what we want, right? Or not what we want, maybe this the problem that we observe.
Mm,
And let's take education. So many sustainability courses.
mm,
But what people don't know, especially those who transition or start first time in this role,
huh,
in specific role in sustainability, where do I actually start? Show me the way, right?
yeah.
Do I take this ESG course, or do I take masters in sustainable supply chains, right?
Uh-huh.
People don't have a good overview of all the possibilities. And while it's really like motivation to work in sustainability, the options are limitless, right?
Yeah.
So for any career to be long lasting and rewarding to the person performing this job role, they
Mm,
should understand what are the options. And that's where we come in, right? So we purposely don't want to have a lot of content, a lot of courses. It should connect to what is relevant, right? We don't want to create decision fatigue. It's already
yeah.
there because
Yeah.
there's so many things. And the same goes for job boards. There's plenty of them, right? But if,
Yeah.
if you look, like, very little actually also have education component to this on the same platform.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, it's not always very clear how this specific skill or course relates to any given role
Yeah.
that people want to do, right? So yeah, that's also where we think that having this place where its entire pretty much life cycle, from considering what do you actually want to do, to
Hmm.
getting the skills, to getting the job, to becoming a mentor for others, and to guiding others into success as well,
Yeah.
right? So that's how we envision our platform can help and accelerate the change that is needed.
Yeah, and then also sort of cross pollinate between markets in terms of
Yes.
trends that are coming, like waves of in Europe. There's a lot of waves of regulation that kickstart the whole ESG and sustainability uh, job market. Whereas in the US, they are actually, I think, now more or less killing everything that is called
Yeah.
remotely connected with ESG, or remotely disconnected from oil. Let me put it that way. Um, do you see that also? By the way, do you see that also back in trends that are coming to Asia? That there's more, uh, let's say, more focus on um, how to say more conservative job markets, because we've had a whole wave of ESG and sustainability and diversity and inclusion type of work and jobs. Do you see also that pendulum swing back?
Yes and no. So, well, Europe is the first one to innovate. I would call it this way, in this area, in the job market areas.
Hmm.
And to be honest, well, I think everyone was not really sure what to anticipate on any of the markets,
Hmm.
given what is happening in the US, and there
Hmm.
was a lot of fears that entire world will like pretty much go back.
Yeah.
And well, we do see a lot of trends are influenced, but it's great to see that it's not as bad as we expected or some people expected, as well as some places we see even like bounce back even stronger.
Hmm.
So here in Southeast Asia, what is not really, how to say, good news is
Hmm.
Indonesia's approach to sustainability,
Hmm.
given recent US actions, because Indonesia is the biggest market, right? It's so many people and it's
Yeah.
so much potential. So great news is that people, in terms of talent, they are
Hmm.
still eager to work in sustainability, and they could be great remote workers.
Hmm.
But the biggest minus is that such a big country, employers there are not incentivized to develop sustainability jobs.
Hmm.
And we know that in the beginning, this push is really needed from the government side. We cannot just expect that people out of their goodwill will change company policies,
No.
because we know that, well, companies are first of all focusing on profits. And for them to see the profits, it's also to avoid the penalty cost that could come with non-compliance, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
if it's actually discouraged, even it's really bad news. Yep. Well, I think we are still to see how it eventually comes out
Yeah.
in terms of sustainability trends. But I think it's not necessarily as bad as we expected like a couple of months ago what would happen, right?
Yeah. You're in Singapore, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So how does the Singapore government look at this? Because they're it's a very small country that's surrounded by sea, and well, there's also quite a bit of green. Um,
I would
ho-
agree.
yeah. So how does the Singapore government, and maybe also if you know, except for Indonesia, other governments in the region, how do they look at sustainability? Do they see it as a necessity, or do they see it as something that is like, hey, this is something we want to focus on because it's in our best interest? Or is it something that they're like, yeah, okay, oh, so we're done, good, we're done with it?
Yeah, I think Singapore specifically, as government, it's very independent opinion,
Hmm.
and luckily not influenced by such hiccups like we're experiencing
Mm-hmm.
currently. And yeah, Singapore, is close to equator, so obviously the effects of global warming are really noticeable here.
Mm-hmm.
And being very forward-looking government, there is a lot of projections that they do, also realizing, the temperature change. Uh, that they're really innovative, or they are trying to be at the forefront of anything that actually will develop in a strong trend,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of them is carbon markets,
Yeah.
where I'm not sure if you heard, but Singapore really wants to become a regional hub for Southeast Asia and Asia overall,
Mm-hmm.
which is, of course, again, global warming and sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I don't see, from the government side, I don't see like any backing off from sustainability initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
It's still ongoing. It's still progressing. It's still in the priorities. In terms of other countries in Southeast Asia, again, I may not be focusing currently too much on this because
Mm-hmm.
we are preparing for our GCC trip. But I think
How
some
is it in GCC then?
yeah, this is also for me to explore deeper.
Okay.
However, you see, as you mentioned, some governments see they realize, due to either like oil reserves
Uh,
running out that cannot be sustained forever, or impact of climate change, there is actually more of a necessity approach,
mm-hmm.
uh, and it's not really easily influenced by. Some other politicians'
No.
whims
Uh-huh.
without understanding, what is actually happening.
Yeah. Okay. So that's still to be discovered.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Well, it sounds like a really interesting journey. To be honest, to go to GCC and solve sustainability there in the land of the oil.
yeah.
That's sort
I
of.
know that they've been actually putting, for 2 years in a row, it was a year of sustainability. And this year is the year of community, where sustainability is also a strong topic. And there is a lot of initiatives across Gulf region, where they build sustainable cities, right? Where they have these projects on renewables. Energy transition is a very relevant topic there,
Yeah.
right? Honestly, it does make sense. It does make sense for them, and it's great to see that they are strong in their resolves to commit to sustainability, to have more energy, or even okay, I don't really remember exact statistics, but I believe by year 2030x,
Mm.
right, to have like either 100% or 80% of energy coming from renewables, which is great.
In that region would be
Yeah,
like really nice because it's yeah I can imagine right now it's more 80% oil.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're right. I think it's 80%, but it also means 20% already coming from, among others,
Yeah.
renewables, which is great, right?
Yeah,
For
but
country
also
that,
a big
uh,
transition that they have to make if they want to shift. There's the money is there, but you
mm,
also have to get indeed the talents there, and that
true. That's where
so
we come in.
yeah, and that's where you come in. So that's cool. So I wanted to switch gears a bit because you're a solo founder of
Mm,
the and so far, if I understand correctly, you've bootstrapped.
mm.
What has been that experience for you? What has it been like?
Well, there are pluses, there are minuses. The biggest plus, I believe, is that we can still set our own direction,
Yeah.
right? And we focus on sometimes things that do not immediately transfer into revenue.
Hmm.
And it's a plus and it's a minus, because sometimes founders need to be reminded that you cannot sustain and we are not a charity, we are a company, right?
Yeah.
So obviously we do need to make revenue, and to remember also have this as top priority. So sometimes I do wish that we had an investor that would also hold us accountable, not only provide capital, but
Hmm.
also help us to perhaps extend our network and connect us with the right audiences or partners.
How do you
Uh,
do that currently?
or everything in cold way,
Uh-huh.
or sometimes through our advisors or through people who are our champions, right?
Hmm.
Who really like our idea and who want to help us. But yeah, it's pretty much. Of course, we could have much wider reach otherwise.
Yeah. So are you looking for investors and advisors like that currently?
Yeah, I think currently not very actively.
Mm-hmm.
We've been looking, we tried to raise funds
Mm-hmm.
last year. And that's where also we got hit by, oh, you have traction, but traction is not enough. You need
Yeah.
to have revenue,
Yeah.
right? So it was like really sobering for us. And that's where we decided, okay, let's focus on getting the revenue,
Mm-hmm.
and let's reattempt raise funds again. So again, we do not raise funds just for the sake of raising funds or because it's time, but of course we want to be global. And as I as I prefer to grow organically, I understand that the speed at which we need to grow requires a bit of more of capital investment that stable revenue stream can provide.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's where investment would be really great. And I think we do want to reattempt to raise funds, but
Mm-hmm.
also we will see once we are self-sustained, we can reevaluate our priorities. Great thing about startups, you don't have to stick to 5 years plan.
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially that. But then again, if you want to sustain,
Mm,
capital is also again part of the building blocks, I would say,
mm, yeah.
especially in the long run.
Yes.
So, just curious, when you were fundraising, you heard that, oh, great, you have traction. Oh, hmm, bummer, not no revenue yet. Um, did you run into other things, other remarks like, oh, you're a solo founder or
Mm,
you're a
yeah.
female, maybe not, maybe too risky, or
Yeah. Unfortunately, solo founder is something that I heard a lot, that it's a high risk for VCs, which in a way, I can understand.
hmm,
But we also cannot put like everyone, it's not the thing that when you do evaluation, yes or no. You
hmm.
also need to see sometimes having two founders, but both of them don't get along together or they don't really do more work, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's one of the primary reasons that startups actually fall apart. That
yeah,
founder
right. Mm.
getting into a row with each other. So,
Yes, yes. And for me, of course, like I do realize that having co-founder would help me a lot, especially obviously in complementing spaces that
hmm,
each of us would focus more attention on growing the market and growing the product.
yeah,
So, but again, like if I cannot find somebody, I'm not gonna force it just to tick the box
no,
for a
no, no.
fundraiser. Yeah, and I don't understand why it is still the case. Um, in terms of being a female founder, I didn't really hear it, but of
Okay.
course, this one is not something that you hear.
Hmm,
Sometimes you can assume, oh, is that the reason?
hmm,
You see the difference when you put like highlight more the male part of your team, even if it's not co-founding
hmm,
members, but some seniors, that you are listened more. And on the other hand, just as you start pitching with a female voice,
hmm.
it sometimes you can feel that, okay, I think I don't need to finish. I already see that no matter what I say, no matter what I show, it could be not that easy um to get to the yeah to yes, right, to what you want to hear.
Yeah.
um yes,
So
in terms of
how do you deal with that?
um well, to be honest, I know this is a reality, and unfortunately, there is not much I can do about that.
Hmm.
I don't get it affect me, so
Okay.
I think that's one of the things that uh, I know that I'm not the one in the wrong, right
Yeah.
here, to look at myself as less of, or actually to look at my startup as less of because there's either one founder or the founder is female, right, or something else.
Yeah.
But what really surprises me is the traction versus revenue,
Hmm.
because we were raising pre-seed.
Yeah.
Pre-seed, as I remember, like
Yeah.
10
It's
years
even
ago.
pre-product.
Exactly, right? And now we not only we have like MVP, we have traction, and this one is not enough for pre-seed. So that's why this one is a market change, or
Yeah.
I don't know, risk aversion, that which is
Yeah.
understandable. But on the other hand, it's killing entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
It's killing entrepreneurship because a lot of people really don't have this um, luxury or luck. Like, for example, for
Um,
me, for us, we were able to bootstrap, but
yeah.
so many great ideas don't go through because there is just this like small initial investment that would help them to test, right? And they cannot do that
Yeah.
because of this preconception. Pre-seed should have revenue.
Yeah. I'm a bit surprised. I do see the trend though that the demands for seed and pre-seed go up.
Hmm.
I was wondering about your views. Does that actually play into the strength of women because they tend to fundraise a bit later in the journey, only when
Mm.
they do have some sort of traction? I had a guest of mine, Arosha Brouwer. She told me, well, once you have traction, that sort of equalizes a lot. Not everything, but it makes the playing field a bit more level. So it doesn't, the whole gender thing sort of becomes less relevant.
Mm.
But I was wondering what your views on that are, or your
Um,
experiences.
I totally agree. I think when you show the numbers, it becomes less relevant whether you are solo or female founder or any other, biased group. Um, well, how it is happening now, maybe actually it is also pre-revenue would not be required to have traction if it's a male person pitching, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I can only speculate. But in terms of women, I did read somewhere a recent report that founders become more self-sustained, bootstrap for longer,
Yeah.
and even some of them decide not to raise at all.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's great to be self sustained because sometimes, when investors come in, obviously they want return on their investment. And sometimes the focus on return can overpower what is the actual mission.
Hmm.
I'm not saying to give away products for free, but I'm saying sometimes the growth could be at a lower pace in terms of revenue, but bigger in terms of impact,
Yeah.
right? And I think this is something that even in impact investing, I don't see it at a very comfortable level. Again, coming back to the mindset shift and what we say and what we do,
Hmm.
what is actually needed and what is, sometimes said but not done.
So I was wondering, let's say one of the listeners would be contemplating to start a business,
Mm.
and I don't know, maybe she feels she isn't ready, or maybe she feels it is, and she would ask you for advice. What would your advice be, and
Mm.
why?
I think no one is ever truly ready to become entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Uh, Even if we want to and we think we will deal with this, it's important to understand that it's not all roses.
Hmm.
It's really hard. It's you really need to have emotional resilience on the top level
Hmm.
to go through the roller coasters, right? One day you're
Yeah.
like, oh my god, amazing review. Another day is like, we don't have revenue. Like, I don't have like a salary to
Uh-huh.
pay my team, right?
Yeah.
So to be ready, I think that's where how we can evaluate, or part of evaluation is like emotional readiness, right? Can I really bear? Am I like stress resilient, right? Because it's not for everyone. Maybe people start they are startups for different reasons, and well, obviously it's not to have freedom or to earn money, which is actually very often the reason people do start startups,
Yeah.
right? But it's also to be aware that it's very difficult. So if that one is kind of check mark, and the person knows that I am ready, I want to try it, I will not give up at the first obstacle.
Mm.
Then the other thing is to actually they say just start something on the side, keep your day job and do it part time. I actually don't agree with this.
Mm.
It's if you want to be entrepreneur, entrepreneurs are risk takers,
Yeah.
right? So you either dive in or you don't. So again, everyone has livelihoods and very often families. So perhaps good idea to just ensure that you have savings that can last you for, well, ideally couple of years, or that you can get funds from family that can support you in case before you get revenue.
Yeah.
But to go like full in, and to try it, to give yourself some sort of deadline. Okay, I give myself 6 months. If it's not working, then I'm going back to job market
Yeah.
or whatever else. And I think finally, probably this one is from my own experience.
Mm.
Talking about co-founders,
Mm.
right? If you cannot find co-founder, don't wait. Just start and figure things out by yourself. Hire some junior or senior developer. Go slowly, but go. um, One of the reasons my second company, like pretty much I could have founded it like 2 years earlier. I've been looking for a tech co-founder.
Yeah.
I still don't have one, and I'm still not a tech person,
Yeah.
but I learned enough to get by and to actually manage tech team. And to be honest, if you have great team, and again, that's from the founder, how do you, what is the culture that you develop? What is the level of trust? How easily can you communicate with your people? And
Hmm.
again, like there's a lot of things you can teach without being tech person, like even agile methodology.
Yeah.
Everyone can understand this, right?
Yeah.
So just like to realize that there will be a lot of learning, there will be a lot of head changing. Be ready for this, but it's
Yeah.
also exciting, right? There's so much learning in such a short time, and somehow our brain kind of opens if you're really excited about what you do. It
Yeah.
opens and absorbs all this knowledge much faster than you would like go and do your masters in I don't know, something
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So that's a great place to move to my last question. So I'm
Mm.
on a mission to make inclusion in tech the new normal by 2032. I was wondering what your advice would be to make that happen.
Well, yes, great mission. And I think first thing that to do this is to showcase success stories and role models. That's actually what you are doing. So, and
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for this. This is already a great step. And I think also what we spoke about sustainability and mindsets or investment is very applicable here as well.
Yeah.
I believe one of the biggest and toughest change that we need is a systematic change. Coming
Hmm.
from the upbringing, coming from the education, and also I believe this one is already now a bit better.
Hmm.
Uh, Gender roles, right? So girl cannot like play with the car, right, or be tech inclined, right?
Yeah.
I think now it's better, but I think until the time it fully eradicated, we still have a bit to go.
Is that
Um,
also a matter of role models?
um, I believe so. Role models influence a lot.
Yeah.
Even like society, not only individuals but societies as well. So and role models, like as a like person being a role model exhibiting specific behaviors is one thing. If you have, of course, like female equivalent of Elon Musk,
Hmm.
I believe that would help a lot, right? And I believe there is equivalent, a female equivalent of Elon Musk, but is she given enough attention? That's back to you,
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
amplify the message. And yeah, that's definitely one thing. But I think what is something that we need also as a society is to develop a degree of blindness, gender blindness,
Hmm.
color
Yeah.
blindness, and our brain is automatically becomes biased based on all this like subconscious thing that we experience, that we observe. Maybe consciously we think we are not biased, but unconsciously it just happens. So
Yeah.
developing this kind of blindness that we don't look at a person um, on how they look, but actually we look at person at what they do. how they do this. And
Yeah,
we don't know whether it's male or female, right? What is the outcome? You
yeah,
decide about what you think about the person before you see the person. I think that's probably some sort of blindness that would help us, and hopefully we get there soon.
yeah,
And hopefully, you help with amplifying the message.
yeah. That last bit I will for sure continue with. So, Natasha Syed, thank you very much for an amazing interview. If people want to learn more about you, about Skilled in Green, and maybe also subscribe to the platform, find out what the knowledge and the courses and opportunities are that are on Skilled in Green, where would you like to send them?
They can always visit our platform at green.skilledin.io. And I'm also happy to connect on LinkedIn. Natasha Syed. I believe there are a few of us. So the
Yeah.
one that works at SkilledIn, that's me. Happy to help with any advice if time allows.
Yes.
And yeah, any other ways to connect also appreciated. But unfortunately, I'm not very active socially.
Okay. So we include those links in the show notes, of course. So once again, Natasha, thank you very much for the great interview. And listeners, thank you very much for listening. And until the next episode, keep being awesome. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to episode 95 of Women Disrupting Tech on building a skilled in green talent pipeline with Natasha Syed. Natasha and I hope that you found our conversation as interesting and inspiring as we intended it to be. And if you'd like to learn more about or connect with Natasha and Skilled in Green, please check out the links in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog. On the same website, you can also become a member of the Women Disrupting Tech community. As a member, you get early access to new episodes and you get an exclusive email with my personal reflection about each of the episodes, including takeaways and magical moments. So check out the show notes for a link. When you enjoy listening to this podcast, please follow the show on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube. If you follow Women Disrupting Tech, that's a great zero cost way to support my guest in making inclusion in tech the new normal by the end of 2032. You can also follow us on social media on LinkedIn and Instagram. Please check out at the True Story Company, and on YouTube and Substack you can find us under at Women Disrupting Tech. Finally, if you want to connect with me, you can reach me at dirkjan at womendisruptingtech.blog or by sending me a DM on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, simply search for my name and you'll find me. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next episode. And until then, keep being awesome.